What's up, everybody? Big Jonas here in the house. Thank you for joining me today. It's Saturday, January 11th. Been a little bit of time since we last spoke, but wanted to come and kind of share some thoughts I have on Bitcoin and the overall crypto market. What's up, SS Swartz? First, second, and third, always my friend. What's up, Bernesian Kanan? Hello. Thank you for joining me. Remember, guys, hit that thumbs up button if you want to rock out with me tonight. Talking some Bitcoin price action, and always feel free to support the channel with any of my affiliate links below. Hey, Cornholio, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for hanging with me tonight. Talk some Bitcoin. So listen, there's lots to discuss. Bitcoin starts the last day of the week above $8,000. Clearly, we are still. Let me get off the Bollingers here. Clearly, we are still channel bound. I'm in log scale here, and this is a channel that has held Bitcoin, save a little bit on the upside, bull trap, and on the downside, bear trap, since our June highs. And our June highs were significant because not only were they the clear highs of 2019, but they put in a lower high from the previous all-time high. And in Bitcoin, that only happens with a lower high after a new all-time high during the bear market, the continuation of the bear market. So there's a narrative on both sides here where we could argue, listen, Bitcoin still, even with our pullback from the year's highs, is up a good 100%, closed out 2019 for sure, if you want to look at it that way. Bitcoin has pulled back into our golden pocket zone and triple temps, with the last one being that higher low has propelled it right up to and rejected at the 50% level. Again, a level which Bitcoin has significant history on. Bitcoin has spent a lot of time in the $8,500 to $8,800 range, not just this year as support, as very clear resistance here, and still testing the backside of that area of resistance and support, now still resistance. Now, why is this significant? Well, this is an area where Bitcoin has failed to continue its chance to get above in a bull market situation. And what I mean by that, those of you that were not trading crypto back in 2018, remember that as we were putting in our descending triangle, we kept on putting in these bullish periods within this consolidation that consistently put in lower highs, 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 and down we went. There was a time where Bitcoin was able to find support in the mid $6,000 range and was able to pump to $8,200, $8,300, $8,400. And I want to get very accurate here. I want to pull that up just a little bit. I'm going to pull a horizontal here, right at the peak wicks of the July 24th and 25th, 2018 candles. Because that particular, and this was quite bullish, we actually did do a variation of an inverse head and shoulders here. We were able to break through not just the first neckline of the H&S, inverse H&S, but then the second one, and put in that higher high in the sequence of this impulsive move. But that became the top there at $8,400. Now we fast forward to this week's price action, and once again, almost to the penny, that $8,400 resistance held, kind of like a deja vu. And we remember that when that resistance initially held back in 2018, we came down quick. We came down very quick. We had a little bit of a bounce here, and like a day later, and then we put in that lower high, and then we just fell very quickly here. And within a matter of a week, 2 weeks almost, we were back down into where we had been. Gave it all back. So there's history in this similar pattern here. And that pattern is lower highs. We go from lower lows to kind of a base here. We have enough history now around 7K to the high 6Ks here. And the similarities of this consolidation after a bull move and this consolidation after a bull move are still very similar, and we can't ignore this. Now, does this mean that we're going to repeat this exact pattern again? Remember, we did a very clean, descending triangle here. We had our base, we had our lower highs, we came to our apex, and thunk. We had a little bit of a back test here, and down we went. Now, this has been slightly different, okay? Can we now pull a descending triangle on this? Well, maybe. I mean, if you think about our pump here, and I'll even take out the super top of the wick here because a lot of exchanges are able to go to 10.5. Some were only capped at around 10.1 or 10.2, right? And we have our bottom here. We've hit 6,500, 6,500, 6,800, okay? Remember, we didn't hit 6K here to the penny every time. We had a 58, we had a 59, we had a 61, 61, 61. So we can give and take a couple $100 on the lower ledge here. But this is, obviously it's still forming here, but we have our high, we have our bottoming area, now we have our lower high until proven otherwise. And of course, Bitcoin can definitely prove this otherwise and break through that lower high and get above and tackle the next areas of resistance, which is basically, listen, it's frankly as high as between 9K and I'd say all the way up to 9.6. You have kind of this next running room path, and that's where it could definitely get more interesting in terms of an overall trend change, where we might be able to put in the chance for the first higher low, something that, of course, Bitcoin has yet to do for some time. So I'm going to clear the board. Thanks for playing. Okay. And let's go back to this channel for a second here. Now, again, this doesn't have to be perfect. We have wicks that go above. We have wicks that go below. But let's face it, this has pretty much been the parallel channel that has defined Bitcoin price action from our highs of the year to where we currently are here. Obviously, we are knocking once again on the doorstep of the upper ridge here. Remember, we're still putting these lower highs. So what would we want to see here? What do we really want to see here? Well, we want to see, obviously, the breakthrough. But more importantly, will we see a back test? Okay, the significance of a break of this channel. Okay, you would want to see a back test to confirm what was strong resistance is now strong support before we were going to do anything meaningfully continuing higher there. So that's kind of the bullish thing that I would like to see if Bitcoin is really prepared to break above this channel here. And remember, we can still do all this. We can break above, we can back test, we can bounce nicely on the upper side of this channel here, okay? And we can start to rise higher, even put in a higher high from wherever we get that first initial rejection above the channel there. But we can still put in these lower highs until we break the current double top, which is still everything under 10K. So $10,000, because of where we found that resistance and fell and put in that lower high there, that's still kind of that area that can be the real defining moment of the trend cycle here as we get closer to the halving. We'll definitely talk about that because that is the apex here. And if you think about it, and we tend to see this in crypto a lot, where we get this triangle apex and we get towards it and we break down from it and we try and back test it. And we kind of did that here with our pump right at the apex. I guess I'd probably do that. That fulfills the apex touch. But that area can be back tested again and again. Bitcoin, anything below 10K can still be that possibility of the lower high, continuing to hold. And again, you can't say that this consolidation, this bearish consolidation, is over until we actually do break that trend, which clearly has not happened yet, even though it is still early in the year. 53 of my closest friends watching me live tonight, Saturday, January 11th. Guys, please hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying my content here. Also, encourage you to choose the affiliate links here in the info section if you want to support this channel. Always appreciated. I can't believe it's 2020. I can't believe it's 2020. Can't believe I've been trading Bitcoin for, I guess it's almost my fourth year of trading Bitcoin, and I actually bought my first Bitcoin related asset in 2014, which I wish I had actually bought some Bitcoin back in 2014. But no, it was just a pump and dump that actually happened to have a Bitcoin thing about it. So I followed this for many years, and I love trading it. And I also think that there's opportunities to not just think about where Bitcoin could be in 2021, 2022, when the year's out, but the tremendous opportunities that it's given just from a pure trading standpoint over the year and over the past several years here. We talk about the overall line of support and how we're still pretty much holding this line here. Of course, it begins to curve the lower you get as the logarithmic line of regression support, follows Bitcoin price action, and this line should eventually, begin to slowly kind of curve out in the out years here, right? Versus maintaining that straight line because it should wane as an asset. It becomes more mature. So I don't think about the straight line per se on the logarithmic chart. We've all seen the logarithmic lines of regressions. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I'm not convinced that Bitcoin has to maintain above this line. Sure, we've ridden up it historically speaking. There's, we just ride up it. Sometimes we go a little bit too high. Sometimes we come down. Maybe there's a wick, some kind of a fallout, although this could have been just an anomaly in the price action, a temporary anomaly per se. What's up, Tone Loke? What's up, AD? What's up, Brad Anderson? What's up, Andre? Who else is out there in the chat room? Please say hello. I'd love to see you. What's up, Jared High? Jared Hall? A little high. And then again, we did it back here. We did it back here in the 18 and 19, where we ran up this line and we then exceeded above it. So, okay, well, we've done that twice and we put in this lower high. So maybe we're going to do something like this over the next couple months, right? Kind of ride up it, 86, 87, kind of maybe a little hit the 9. Then we get closer to the halving, right? And we start to begin to rise and begin this kind of new thing, all right, where we're actually rising and can put in that next hump, right, before the next come back here and retouch that line. Of course, in the out years, this line that has been at, $800, it's been at $3,000, it's at $6,500 now. In a year or two, it could be at $20,000. So that could be our baseline price in the out years here. And wouldn't that be, nice? And maybe the next time we don't have a higher high hump, we have a lower high where we actually keep putting in these lower highs, right? And we actually have, something lower of a extension above this line. But why can't we go under this line? And I guess the question is not why can't. I guess the question is, it is absolutely possible that we can go under this line here. I'm not convinced that we're hitting it again. And yes, historically speaking, we've been able to hold this for, more or less the past 5 years of Bitcoin price action. But we are so close to it once again. We're only, $1,200 maybe. Of course, percentage-wise, that's still another, 15, 18% or so. But we're not that far above it right now. And we say this in the context of volume declining than we did have the last time. We're saying this in the context of a lot of the altcoin money that was in the market back then to basically get sucked out and go into Bitcoin. That's what increased Bitcoin's dominance tremendously the first half of the year. That money isn't here anymore. Okay? The altcoins, even though they've had some runners here and there, that physical money to convert that to Bitcoin to bring the market up without new money coming in, without new buyers coming in. Now, sure, institutional money, it can come in. Absolutely. It does daily. Okay. But there's also a faction of that is keeping their powder dry. They're powder dry because they feel that there could be a much better buying opportunity for Bitcoin in the near future before it goes on a more meaningful run that allows it to push really sub 10K, and look out that in the mirror, the rear view mirror, if you will. The obstacles that face Bitcoin are not just technical, though, or I shouldn't say the obstacles, the things that we have to look at. Fundamentally speaking, there's tremendous things that add a lot of value to the price of Bitcoin, the hash rate, where the mining profitability is, on-chain volume, all these things that are FA indicators that are definitely ways to look at the price action other than just the overall chart in itself. So we can use these to determine, okay, is Bitcoin bullish or bearish, and does it make sense for not just the bottom to be in here, but the bottom to be in I mean, forever. I mean, what we're talking about, the people that are very bullish on this current consolidation and that are basically feeling that we are beginning this upward momentum. Of course, upward momentum as we get closer to the halving. Remember, the halving is like, it's like right there, somewhere around this blue line here. Okay, so we're not as far away as we used to be. I remember talking about it months ago, and now we're literally like 4 months away from it. So we know that Bitcoin likes to move on news driven events, on a narrative. The ETF, Boxed, SegWit, China FUD, China Pumps. So we know this, and is there a better narrative to talk about how the halvening will lower the inflation rate of Bitcoin to around 2%, which is in line more or less with, like currencies? US dollar, the inflation targets for the Fed around 2%. Now, granted, we're still going to get between now and then, two, 300,000 more Bitcoin mined. Um, but you conclude that with a confluence of hodlers and miners holding. Miner capitulation is a big driver and is what drove the price action here. This fire sale pretty quick from 6K to 3K within a matter of weeks was a lot of that downward pressure on the market. We have not had minor capitulation in this move yet at all. You will know it, and we just haven't had it yet. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it definitely shows that we are in a situation now where the miners are prepared to hold and hope that a narrative of a halvening pump. Remember, Bitcoin has risen every previous halvening, right? Bitcoin has been in some sort of an uptrend, not necessarily a massive bull market, right? But it doesn't matter if that's the case. The ranging of Bitcoin over the next several months, holding this area of price support, people were wanting to accumulate Bitcoin under 7K. And so far, they are definitely being rewarded for that. People also want to feel like, okay, I can now be comfortable with my 7K purchases. But the market does have a tendency to test you on this, okay, and see how strong those hands really are. Because we're getting such low spot volume, because of the lack of new money and really the lack of the retail day trade investor, at least for now, derivatives have been a big driving force in a lot of the price action because it behooves the market to balance out when there is oversold or overbought conditions to balance out the derivatives market on either side. You get price action more responding to those swings than the organic market driven forces that we see in other assets. So that's the market we are in. You need to think of Bitcoin for now in this low retail, low real volume environment from a derivative standpoint, where how can I wick out somebody? How can I wick out the big leverage trades that this guy, you caught the short, you started going short here, and you rode that short from 9K and you rode that thing all the way down to 6K. All right. Oh, we got to get that guy out of his position or hers. And so we pump the market a few times. All right. But that we make him complacent again, puts it in the lower low. He's still sitting pretty in his short. Okay. Pump it again, but we put the lower low in. I'm going to keep my short, high leverage. We're going down a much lower, much lower. And now that's being tested with the pump to $8,400. all those shorts that were riding profitable pretty much, halfway through the cascade here, okay, are out of their trades. And then if you are still holding a short from up here, you've given back enough of your profits to say, really, it wasn't the most amazing trade now. That's why this has to be a trader's market. You can have your hodl position, that's fine, but it's stupid to give up at this point, $1,000 on the upside or $1,000 on the downside if you're long and short either position. Take your profits, okay? Don't be too greedy. It's okay to leave some money on the table if that's the case, but nothing worse than turning a great trade into an okay trade, or an okay trade into a losing trade, or an initially winning trade into a losing trade because you don't at least get your stop into profit and protect yourself. You need to look at every trade as an opportunity, but it's okay to close out that opportunity, close your trade out, and then just wait. Just be patient for the next one. In actuality, in a day, maybe there's 2 or 3 really good trades. Maybe there's even less. Some days there's more if the volatility is there. You always want to look at buying into weakness, and you want to look at scaling out and selling into strength. This was a tremendous move here, and it's definitely hasn't shown that it's ready to give it up yet while it maintains price action above 8K. But even if you were long and strong from the mid to low 7Ks, Bitcoin corrected almost $600 here, from 8,400 all the way down to about almost $700. So we've had a decent enough of a pullback to shake out a bunch of the longs that have correlated in this move here. We've also been able to close, or at least we're opening this candle above the range. Remember, this was the range of price action that from the end of November, basically from Turkey Day through Christmas, this was the range that Bitcoin was stuck in. We are now above the range. That's bullish. That's absolutely bullish. Okay? That's why maintaining support and closing candles above $7,800 at this point is very important. But remember, we are also just touching this previous range that even allowed Bitcoin to go as high as 86 to as high as maybe $800, $8,800 here. So this window of opportunity can still bring Bitcoin to $8,800, and that would still maintain the lower high pattern. And frankly, we've done a couple of those. We've done a couple of those bull and bear traps that would be an opportunity, and we've seen it before, for the market to trap some breakouters and then come back down and not find that bounce, but actually just come right back into it here. And because we've done that a couple times with a very quick reversal, and of course we've done that many times back in our 2018 bear market, we went straight up. I remember these moves here. Boom, straight up, 100%. Boom, straight up, 70%. Each time, gave it all the time, all the way back. Boom, 6K to $1,200 there in 6 days, or like 3 weeks. Boom, we give it back in 1 week. This is what Bitcoin has done in these markets. So we got to ask yourself, okay, are we playing this from opportunities intraday, maybe swing trading every day to 3 day, or are we looking at this from the major move? And listen, if the major move, you got to remember the biggest money in Bitcoin in the 2017 moves and frankly the 2019 moves happened at the very end. Okay, you could have still gotten pretty cheap Bitcoin, $1,200, $2,000 June of 2017. Okay, and then that last kind of 6 months, 5 months. And then that last like 2 weeks here, was where Bitcoin went from 5K to 20K. Okay. And then same with 2019, we had a very big moves here, right? Okay. But you still could have picked up 7K Bitcoin at the beginning of June and sold it for twice as much at the end of June. Okay, so the big move happens at the very end of these cycles, right? Um, so don't feel like if you miss the entries here or there or there that you've missed the boat. There's plenty of opportunities, even in a bull run, to get into an oversold condition, a better entry. How many times has Bitcoin pulled back 25 to 40%, right? Many times before putting in that higher low. The thing is, though, we are continuing to lose our overall strength and volume. We've come back quite a bit. And a lot of that just has to do with volume isn't there right now. People are focused on the stock market. They have very good reason to. All-time highs in equity markets. Gold is rising. You know, is Bitcoin responding to world events, politics? Is this the hedge that it's been talked about being? A digital asset, digital gold, not just a hedge against inflation, but a hedge against um, the destruction of economies, where gold was always that, oh, well, that kind of last bastion of intrinsic wealth. Well, maybe Bitcoin can be that. And remember, Bitcoin can be this when um, you Bitcoin can be this when you have that mass adoption and the belief in the valuation. And what can give you valuation of Bitcoin? It's the market. Now, what can convince the market that Bitcoin is worth $8,000? And that is time above or around $8,000. That is supply, the availability of Bitcoin to trade in that range. Demand, where people are demanding to hold, to have an ownership stake in Bitcoin, and the feeling that the the value of it can correlate to somebody's everyday life and use it as a value of, if one Bitcoin is $8,000, and I need to feel that $8,000 of value, and therefore I will trust it more to hold on to it at that price point, or maybe even add to it at that price point, and then on and on we go. Okay, Bitcoin doesn't have quarterly earnings reports. It doesn't have it kind of has new products, but it doesn't have, the next generation iPhone. Well, that kind of does actually when it upgrades here and there. But you get what I'm saying, that the public, the market, the necessity to have an ownership stake in Bitcoin, these are the things that over the long term will increase the value intrinsically. And the last thing, obviously, is the network itself and the value of the network itself, which is, includes the miners, mining. Um, Bitcoin miners will continue to mine as long as there's money to be made in it. The advancement of the chips and the video drives that run these mining machines will continue to get better, faster, more efficient, obviously. But energy usage has a lot to do with making mining of Bitcoin profitable. So all these things, all these externalities that have nothing to do with the chart itself, do play into Bitcoin price action and Bitcoin valuation. Whew. All right, let's little ramble there. Who's in the chat room? I haven't looked in the chat for a while. Who's saying hi there? Let's see here. Where was I? PLC. Hello from Portugal. Josh UA. What's up, Niraj? Freer Soul Park. Dan the Man. Um, Martin Daly. What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this Saturday evening. Let's talk about a couple indicators. Just keep it simple. What are we at here? 37 minutes. All right, we can keep going a little bit. All right, so let's talk about my tried and trues. This is our Bollingers, daily Bollinger Bands. Now we are still not that wide yet. As you can see, we were riding our upper Bollinger the past few days. We are still finding that upper BB resistance. We can just see the beginning of our lower Bollinger begin to curve around. What we want to see is the trend steady and stable and rising, right? In continuum, putting in a low, a higher low, a higher low, not a low, lower low, slight higher low, but really kind of parallel, and then that lower low again. So we're looking for that trend change in the daily Bollingers, and middle BB support is around $7,500 and slightly rising. This is the last day of the week, and I do want to bring up the weekly chart, even though we still have another day to play. And I do remember tweeting this when it hit. Middle Bollinger on the weekly chart is stronger than the price action, and it has held currently weekly resistance. Now, if the weekly candle does close like this, hard to argue with it from appearance wise. Upper wick is important. Okay, obviously, we know what upper wicks on weekly candles can represent. Um, right now, this candle here looks like exactly like this candle here almost. And remember, this candle here, we had almost a larger wick, definitely a larger wick than the body. And that close was actually the top, the high of the follow up week of price action there. But middle Bollinger holding resistance. Lower BB at 6,200 and dead flat. Upper Bollinger still over 10K and slightly falling on the weekly. I did want to bring up the 12-hour because 12-hour has been kind of crazy here. We have this gorgeous 12-hour candle here, higher low, higher high, and the follow-up was a higher high and a lower low. Okay, in a pretty nasty shooting star here. Rejection and a lower high there in an overall price action. Now, of course, we're still hanging out here. Volume has been declining latter half of the day. It's Saturday. I don't expect much over the weekend. Normally, interesting price action with Bitcoin tends to kick in Sunday night into Monday morning, typically speaking. I did want to bring up EMA 12, EMA 26, my go-to EMAs. We're in a bull cross here on the daily. Our first pullback did hit the EMA 12 to the penny, basically, and a gorgeous bounce off of it. That is typical. We do see that in the bull trend break, where the 12 is the first to be touched, and normally we get a good bounce off it on the first touch. We also tend to get a good bounce off the EMA 26 when it's initially touched. That's $7,500 as well, and slowly rising. Weekly, we can see we got rejected on the 26th. Now, obviously, that kind of falls in line with the middle Bollinger because that is a 20-period moving average. So they're kind of similar there. But as you can see, we have just began to move up our 12. But remember, we're still in a massive bearish cross here, right? Bear cross, massive bearish cross still on our weekly EMAs. And a close above 79 would put us above EMA 12 support for the first time since back in the end of October, although that was short-lived on that context. We did get a 9 on the daily that became a 1 because 1, 2, 3, 4, we closed below 81.60. So we did have a price flip after an intraday 9 became a end of day red 1, and we're going to see if a red 2 closes below a red 1, which would be a close below 8K. Would definitely be interesting from a TD standpoint. Would basically signal a short entry, but still, frankly, from a candlestick pattern here, obviously we are still in some sort of a flag formation here with room to again retest the lower flag at 78 or the upper flag breakout at $8,200 here. That's still where we are range bound until anything above that with support or below this with resistance would be actually a more meaningful move. And of course, the weekly. I didn't do a TD on the weekly, did I? So on the weekly, looking to close in a green 1, but obviously very early in the overall chart as a whole. Monthly, really just a third of the month done. Obviously, a good looking monthly candle. But remember, the trend is our friend still, and the trend consistently puts out these upper wicks every darn month. Okay. Remember, we went lower. We never actually put in the comparable wick, which would have been getting as high as 8,500 last month, right? So we're kind of compensating for it this month, and that's I mean that's still the ball game there. I know a lot of Twitter is very bullish. There's reasons to be so, but until we're really above this area here, however you want to slice it, is it either it's a either it's a parallel channel, okay, you wanted to say, all right, it's parallel, we can go lower here, or we're in some massive falling wedge that can obviously break very bullish, right? Okay, these are what falling wedges do tend to do when we can break above them. But they don't always have to, and we can definitely get even tighter in our consolidation and even fall through as the months go on here. But January, definitely a third of the way in, and the new year as a whole, not a bad way to start the year. Remember, last January, we did have a good pump, right? We started the month down here. We went lower, we went higher, and we actually fell out much lower here, but 33. So we had almost a $700 high to low there. And then if we go back to 2017, I mean, that was also a pretty rough month. Oops. For Bitcoin here. So, January hasn't always been the best month for Bitcoin. February, we tend to get some sort of a bigger move here. Remember this one on the low and the high. And of course, last February was a very good bottoming sign that we had this bullish engulfing there. So the way we close out our month, still got 3 weeks, will be very telling as Bitcoin really has a better April. Bitcoin loves April. March is consolidation. April is advancing there. So get closer to the halving, get closer to that. We're going to see some action there. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. There was one more thing. I did want to talk about the Ichimoku on the Daily Cloud. We're in it, okay? This was very accurate back here with the resistance, 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 resistance. Got way below, okay? Broke into the cloud, came back down, back in it. Cloud support can still hold us above 8K, although it does drift lower as we get lower in the month. And the cloud resistance is as high as $8,600, $8,700. Now, that's the daily, but the weekly, We did hit the sidewall here. There was the pump we get when we do hit the sidewall. And as you can see, we hit that Kaijinsen very strong. Confluence, Kaijinsen, Tenkinsen, $8,600 here. Um, and a good base of support would be getting us the next week or two above $8,700. And that resistance does go higher. Remember, the cloud does take us higher here on the weekly if we want to stay in it there. But remember, we did this on the daily, right? Where we got resistance, we fell way below it, then we crawled back in. The weekly, we haven't really left it yet, right? So we could definitely fall below the cloud support in the weeks to come before we get back into it later on the year in some sort of a move here. So we're very close to seeing if Bitcoin can hold in the cloud. And that's a pathway of Bitcoin to expand up to 10K once again. But holding here and opening up next week would probably be right on the edge. So we want to see next week get us above 86 or 87. Volume's looking pretty good this week as well, so we're liking that. So, all right, guys, today's Sunday, at least in Bitcoin, last day of the week. Okay, we're still consolidating. Bitcoin is still over 8K. We did have a little bit of a rejection on our last 4-hour candle to close out the day. Okay, we do have that nice little pump extending to the higher high, only to get dumped on. But as you can see, we are still holding in a very tight range. But remember, we are still above our nearest term, EMAs and MAs. And we might need a little more consolidation before we keep advancing any higher. 12-hour cloud's been very accurate hitting that resistance. Now you can see we're finding support on the closes above the cloud, even though we are coming off that pretty nasty rejection on the previous 12-hour. Strong support at 8K, and then everything else falls right through. So volume's been good. We're looking to see that continue as we go into next week. And we're going to see if world events really are playing a role in Bitcoin's bullish price action as of note. This can be a meaningful area of support here, not just for the inverse head and shoulders part of it, but for the grander scheme of the overall chart here. So with that, it's Big Chonus, guys. Enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hey, Robin. Remember, hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed my content today. Let's guys talk to you soon, hopefully, with some additional thoughts on some good continuation here. Again, nothing will make me happier than a bullish Bitcoin. Okay, that'd be great for me, be great for my friends, great for a lot of us. Okay, but I want to keep the realistic sense of the market in mind here. Okay, and if you're not sure what's going on, just do a fib. Okay, we're still holding golden pocket support. We got rejected at the 50%. The next level up would put us right about 382, which does equal that double top. So we can still go that high and still be putting in our lower highs. And of course, the major one is from, if you want to quantify how far this year's bull market was able to achieve, and find that resistance again in the golden pocket, that support here at the 236. Okay, again, confluence is in this area here, $9,500 for that next fib area higher before again we're hitting that double top. So there's a narrative that Bitcoin can still climb to as high as $9,500 and still put in the lower high and still be in this bearish trend and still keep that overall trend. Or there's a narrative that we're still repeating what we did back in 2018. Either way, it's be a very interesting week of Bitcoin price action, and we have a range that can allow Bitcoin to go a little bit higher and still keep the overall trend. Watch out for any break of the channel here, which still can be broken and back tested before any kind of major acceleration could take place. So keep an eye on that. We've been above it a few times here, okay? And so far those have been rejections, but we are once again just touching it. And remember, even if we just get rid of our wicks here, and just stick to our closes on the daily, um, we're above it, right? But a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there really doesn't kind of change the overall market. We need to get really above the next major zone, um, which would be anything above, $8,600, which is a higher high and above where we previously rejected. Now we're talking about, continuation here. So we're going to see what happens, but Bitcoin, especially if we can close out the week above 8,000, that would be a strong weekly candle and the chance for additional continuation into next week. With that, big chonus, guys, have a great night. Just trade. Be safe. Use your stop loss. Talk to you soon. Peace.